Tennis is an incredibly hard sport to learn and improve as an adult, especially an older adult, which is why in this video I want to explain what the number one thing that holds older players back is and prevents them from improving. It's probably going to be very different to what you might be expecting, because I don't have a specific technique that I'm going to focus on or anything like that. There's thousands of videos online. You'll probably already have watched more videos than you care to remember. Here I'm going to get down to the nitty-gritty and talk about what's really holding you back, because the physical requirements in tennis are incredibly high. You have to have amazing vision, you have to have amazing coordination, you have to have fantastic movement. There's so many things that you need to be able to do to play tennis in the way that you probably want to be able to play. So realistically, it's your physical abilities that are holding you back. Now, I've focused heavily on vision over the last few years because it's so important to read the flight of the ball, to track the ball, to set up the right distance from the ball, and it's something that holds a lot of players back. I've focused a lot on coordination. Again, you need to learn technique, you need to control your shots. But there's something that's even more of a problem for older players, and that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. I'm going to show you some assessments that you can work on and talk about some training progressions to help address this underlying problem so then you can improve faster. After assessing hundreds of older tennis players, the number one thing that prevents players from improving is actually their balance. So what I'm going to do is show you a series of balance assessments so you can work out if this is a problem for you, and then talk about how you can train and improve your balance in a way that's going to allow you to improve more quickly and reach a higher level than would otherwise be possible. When most people think about balance, they think about standing on uneven objects and all these fancy things that they've seen on Instagram and YouTube, but that's not really the way balance works. Balance actually has three main systems involved. We've got the visual system, which is generally our most dominant system. We have proprioception, which is basically the fancy word for all the information coming back from the muscles and the joints and the different parts of the body so that the brain knows where the body is in space. And then the third system is going to be the vestibular system, which is the true balance system that lives in the inner ear. So to assess your balance, we need to look at all of them, make sure they're working independently, and make sure that they're working well together. So we're going to do a couple of different progressions for that, starting simply and getting more complicated. So the first one you're going to do, we're going to have feet together, heels touching, toes touching. Most people are going to be completely fine with this one. Try it with your eyes open for 15 to 30 seconds, then try it with your eyes closed for 15 to 30 seconds. I find quite a few players, older players, they start to struggle when they close their eyes. So that's obviously not a good sign. And if you are starting to struggle when you do that, just make sure that you're safe and sensible with the rest of the assessments, because we're then going to progress it. We're going to do a tandem stance. So heels and toe are going to be touching, feet are going to be lined up, and then just going to see what's your balance like in this position. The legs will also be straight. Maybe 15 to 30 seconds, change legs. So the other leg is behind, again, 15 to 30 seconds, see how you get on. And then we're going to do the same thing, but now we're going to close our eyes. And this is where a lot of people start to struggle. So if we go into a tandem stance and you close your eyes, do you suddenly start to wobble, or are you able to maintain your balance? Are you able to maintain your balance keeping your arms still and staying relaxed? Or do you have to kind of try and do things to compensate? Do you need to bend your legs? Test that on one side, test it on the other. Again, tandem stance, eyes closed. What's your level of stability like? 15, 30 seconds maximum. And then the final progression that we're going to do in this format is going to be single leg. So again, you want to test your single leg on one side, do that with your eyes open, 15 to 30 seconds, single leg on the other side, eyes open, 15 to 30 seconds. Again, what is the balance like? Is it just comfortable? You can stand there relaxing, you could read a book and you're just fine, or are you having to really battle and hold on? And it's going to be exactly the same thing. Eyes closed, are you able to maintain your balance? Or are the arms going everywhere and you're having to do all sorts of different things? Are you twisting and shuffling and jumping around? Test it on the right side, test it on the left side. And generally, you should be able to do all of this, eyes closed, without any problem at all, just relying on the information coming from primarily the proprioceptive system, because we haven't started to challenge our head yet. This is mainly just the feedback from the muscles, the joints, the ligaments and things like that. Are they communicating well with the brain, or is lack of good quality information causing you to wobble and fall over? So now we're going to start to challenge the balance system that lives in the inner ear. And as you do this, If the system doesn't work well, you could feel a little bit dizzy or lightheaded or nauseous. So just make sure, again, that you're nice and safe and sensible with your practice, and just kind of go at a pace that your body can handle. So again, we're going to test it in this position. If I stand like this, I'm going to look at something that's in front of me, and I'm going to turn my head left and right at a reasonable speed. You know, maybe 10 times is a good place to start. How does that affect your balance? How does that affect how you feel? If you fall over, that's not a good sign. If you feel funky and a little bit disorientated, that's also not a good sign. So test that left and right, and then test it up and down. So again, I'm just looking at something and I'm keeping my eyes fixed on that target. How do I feel? Do I feel unsteady? Does that make me wobble? What goes on? Then we're going to test that same thing in the tandem stance. So heel, touching toe, leg straight, looking at something, turning the head from left to right. And now, as you start to do this, are you able to maintain your balance and stability, or do you start to wobble and fall over? Test that with your right leg, or left leg back. Test the same thing with your right leg back. And again, just go for around 10 repetitions, and you've got to make sure that it's at a decent speed, because if you go really slowly, which is what a lot of people do to cheat and compensate, it doesn't challenge the balance system in the inner ear. So try that left and right, then we'll switch back, we'll go up and down. Again, keeping your eyes focused on something. How does it make you feel? Do you fall over instantly? Do you feel sick? Do you feel nauseous? Are you completely fine and stable? Test it right side, test it left side. And then the final progression of that is obviously going to be, we're going to test that on one leg. So if I test left leg, head turning left and right, right leg, head turning left and right, left leg, head going up and down, right leg, head going up and down. And that's going to start to give us feedback about how the balance system, the proprioceptive system, and the visual system are communicating with each other. I find by this point most people are really struggling, and we have all the information that we need to know. But if you really kind of want to take things up a notch, you can actually test those same variations with your eyes closed. So turning your head left and right, turning your head up and down, standing in a tandem stance, eyes closed, turning your head left and right, changing legs, head left and right, and then going through the same thing up and down, left and right leg. But I find basically players over the age of 40, but definitely 50, I've never assessed anyone that needed to get to that point. We normally find issues way further on as soon as we start moving the head, or often, a lot of the time, as soon as we close the eyes, that's where it goes wrong. So how did you get on with those assessments? Where did you get to before you became really unstable? That's going to kind of give you a baseline of your starting point, and it's then a case of training and trying to improve your balance. And by doing that, it's going to enable you to move much more effectively around court. It's going to make you way safer, way faster. The visual system is also connected to the balance system, which is what we were playing around with then at the end. So it's also really going to help you to improve your ball tracking and make sure that you can keep your eyes focused on the ball as you move. But it's about training at the right level of difficulty. And here, the wonderful thing about neurology and the way the brain and the body works is if you do an assessment, you're assessing the parts of the brain and the body that control whatever the assessment is. So the first thing that you try and do to correct the problem is work on that assessment. So if you found that where things went wrong for you was when you stood on one leg with your eyes closed and then you started to wobble, then you just practice doing it. You know, spend 30 seconds a minute, do that 4 or 5 times a day, and that's the first thing that you can try and do to correct the problem, and often that helps people to improve. Now, if you do that and it doesn't help things to improve, it doesn't mean that we can't improve your balance, it just means that we might need to dig in a little bit deeper and try and find ways to make it happen. And that's one of the big things that I do with tennis players. I teach them how to use brain-based training to improve their skill. So we look at vision, we look at balance, we look at coordination, we look at all the other physical attributes that you need to play tennis, and then we use brain-based training and other training methods to improve how the body's functioning, because you can only play at the level that your body will allow you to play. If you can't balance well, that's going to max out how much you can improve. If you can't read the flight of the ball, you can't see well, that maxes things out. But using brain-based training, we can actually train and improve all these different systems. It enables you to improve more quickly and reach a higher level than would otherwise be possible. So if you'd like to learn more about that, I've got a class that's going to go into a lot more detail, and it's going to talk a little bit about my program and how I work with players. If you're interested in exploring working together, I'll place a link to that down in the description so that you can go through that if you would like to. If you found this video helpful and enjoyable, it would be much appreciated if you could give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, always appreciated if you could do that. And if you have any questions or comments about what I've gone through here today, about how the assessments work or anything like that, leave me a comment down below. I normally try and reply as quickly as possible. Okay, I'll catch you next time.